What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Wellness, presented by South Florida Wellness Network. My name is Christian.
And it's your boy Mike's. How we doing?
And it looks very different today. Last week, we had an episode with Kayla and me to end off the new year, or I guess the old year, I guess. And now for the first episode, Kayla's on vacation, so it's just Mike's and I gonna talk about guy stuff, because today the guys are taking over and we're talking about gaming.
Yes.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Because, Kayla, she's not very much into gaming.
Not that she's a gamer.
I don't think that she's a gamer.
Yeah. I don't know if Kayla has played too many games, but she doesn't seem like the type.
Maybe Cooper has forced her to play a couple games.
Cooper gives me the vibes. Cooper's definitely a gamer.
Cooper
so
games,
he can tune into this episode for sure.
He would have been a great person to have in this episode.
Yeah, definitely. But we got a nice little art piece to fill in for you, Kayla. Don't worry.
Yeah, but Kayla, we do miss you, and we hope you're having tons of fun in your trip, and we can't wait to have you back.
Yes.
But let's go ahead and dive deep into today's topic, wellness in gaming. The positive impacts, the negative impacts. How did gaming affect us growing up? Because we're both gamers. We were talking a little bit before the episode. We were digging into how video games affected us growing up. For me specifically, I've been playing games since I was like 8, 9, 10, something like that.
Seriously.
I'll never forget that first Christmas when my parents bought me my very first PlayStation 3, and I was freaking out, man. I could not believe it. I have the PlayStation 3. They bought me the WWE game back then, playing it for hours. It was like 3 a.m. And back then on PS3, the when you put in the disc, you have to wait like an hour and a half before the game actually logs on.
Wait for that magical sound, that boom.
Yeah, dude, because it takes time to update, to set the game, whatever. And at 3 a.m. Christmas morning, I would wait like that, dozing off and waiting for that game to log on, only to finally log on, play for like half an hour because I would sleep. I would fall asleep because it was too late. But those were the days, man. I grew up with all those games. I grew up with a lot of sports games, basketball, football games, soccer games. I grew up with Call of Duty. I grew up with Uncharted, on the PlayStation, one of my favorite games of all time. So yeah, I to this day I still game. I'm currently hooked on Spider-Man, as you can see.
Gotcha.
Spider-Man Miles Morales. I've been playing that sucker for a while now. It's so fun. Puerto Rican Spider-Man, how could I not, And it's so cool because the game, they actually add a whole bunch of Puerto Rican culture into it.
I didn't even know he was Puerto Rican.
Yeah, he is. He's half black, half Puerto Rican. Dad is black, mom is Puerto Rican. And there's a scene in the game, I kid you not, where your character, your Miles, he wakes up and you're walking through the house and it's like Christmas Eve dinner. But they have like a traditional Puerto Rican food in the kitchen, like pasteles, arroz con gandules. Like I have all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, they have coquis all over the house.
That's what a lot of games are doing nowadays. The details. They're
getting very detailed, which is fun for us.
Oh yeah, super.
Not only do we feel represented, but we also get to learn other cultures because other games are following suit, and they're representing their cultures and stuff. But I definitely want to hear from you. What were some of the games that you grew up playing?
Dude, I mean, like you say, I grew up on games, like legit, especially when it comes to my family. Like that was a lot of how we bonded.
Okay.
Especially with my brothers, we're all very different. But one thing we've all kind of gravitated towards, and every Thanksgiving, Christmas, we'll game. We'll play Call of Duty together or whatever it is. Over the years, it's been so many different games, from GTA, Crash Bandicoot, Street Fighter.
Damn, Crash Bandicoot.
There's so many different games that we've played. And it's funny because my evolution of gaming was more so watching them game because I was the younger brother. I'm like a generation before them, like 10 years or so, a little bit younger. So I was always just watching them. I wasn't really playing, but it was fun for me. Like I loved watching them play Crash Bandicoot and beat levels and like GTA and get to the next level. And I was like 4 watching inappropriate GTA stuff, but it was awesome to watch, and that's how I grew up. And I remember when I got my first, my brother would go to work, and whenever he wouldn't be working, I'd be using his PlayStation 3. That's when I was young. And then I remember when I finally got mine, and dude, like the world changed. Like I was like one of those kids that as soon as they got home from school, gamed until 3 a.m, like 10 hours a day. And it's funny because I started YouTube back then. I was like a professional quickscoper from whatever that was, because it was professional for what it was. Like there were pro quick scopers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it was still video games. So pros weren't really a thing how they are now. Like there's pro gamers, making pro contracts with pro money.
Yeah.
So back then, dude, I had 20,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's what's up.
I know. I had a ton of subscribers. I was sponsored by Machinima. So yeah, so I used to get free controllers and free games back in the day because I was really good. I was a little crackhead. Or I don't. Sorry.
So sorry if that offends anybody.
That means in gaming world, that means like people that try really hard, like someone that's like
your usual tryhards,
super try hard. So that's what I was. I was like that since I was born. And I was doing well, but I didn't really think too much into it because gaming wasn't that explosive at the time. Like money wasn't being made like that, so I didn't really think too much into the YouTube. Back in my mind, I'm like, but I was killing it on YouTube at that time, which is funny.
That's awesome.
And but high school came around, and I was like, I can't keep playing games. I got to start seeing some girls. I got to, start doing my thing. I stopped playing games a lot. I hopped off the YouTube, and I kind of lost my channel and all that stuff. It's kind of funny how that worked. But dude, I've completely grown up on games. My life is around games. Like any relationship I've ever got into with a girlfriend, like she needs to understand that like I play video games, and it's always gonna be part of my life, whether you think I need to grow up or whatever or not. Like I've had, relationships with girls, and I'll be like, hey, like, I love you. We're going to text probably the next 5 hours about nothing and saying hi, hey, hello. I'm going to be gaming. Just call me if you need to say anything.
Yeah.
That's it. And, like, those are the type of people, like, I need in my life that are just, like, I could just tell them straight up what I need. But at the same time, if they're like, yo, let's go hang out, I'll go do that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm not the type of person to just text and, like, have fluffer conversation when I'm trying to, like, when I want to game or do something that I like
for sure.
But that could also be a negative, I could also.
That could be a negative, right? Because it could be a barrier. Yeah, we'll dive into that. It could be a barrier to conversation, right? To communication. I'll be honest. I think I've been really blessed in having a fiance that also games. She plays Sims. She likes to. One of our recent hobbies is that there's these games on she has an Xbox because I have both a PlayStation and an Xbox. I had the Xbox first for a while. And I was able to be.
What are you, team PlayStation or Xbox?
It's a weird thing for me because I grew up on PlayStation, but then I started gaming on the Xbox, and I noticed that is also very fun. There's a lot of games. Their deals are way better than PlayStation deals, in my opinion. For example, they have that really cool Game Pass, which is like $16, $17 a month.
I have a PC, so I play on Game Pass as well.
Oh, there you go.
That's like through Microsoft.
Yeah. It's really great because you can play all these games literally essentially for that amount of money a month. And it's not bad at all. Meanwhile, PlayStation has a similar thing, but it's like $60 a year or something like that. So it's like,
and it's not even really like they offer any games in there.
And
they offer the free games.
They're only now like really adding those fun games to compete with Game Pass. So it's a little bit of a toss up. I think I'm both. Because I loved the PlayStation 3. It never failed me. It was always a very positive experience. But when I got the Xbox One, back when it was like $150 at a pawn shop, actually, I loved it. It was like my little thing. It was one of the first things I bought with my very, very first paychecks. So it was like my own thing. And then obviously now I've been very blessed and very blessed that I've been able to buy now the PS5 and I can play these much like extensive, like better graphic games and stuff like that. But teams, I'll say Team PlayStation because Xbox were the first ones to be like, nah, if you want to play with your friends online, you gotta charge you. PlayStation was like free, and I grew up playing Call of Duty with my friends in middle school, literally almost every single night. I would play Call of Duty with my neighbors too, at night at midnight on Friday, playing Call of Duty Zombies. And I was able to build some really great friendships through PlayStation. So for that positive experience that the PlayStation gave me, I'll go with PlayStation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I started on PlayStation 3 and then I switched to 360, Xbox 360, and that was probably one of my favorite systems of all time. That was just like the glory days of gaming. That's back when I was super hard on Call of Duty. Between PlayStation and that was when I was in the YouTube phase. But Halo, Gears of War, there were so many games that came out at that time, and I was just like, oh, this is prime.
I prefer
gaming,
the bumper
dude.
on the Xbox.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
the controller was a lot more ergonomic to my hand.
It's a lot bigger too.
It was a lot better for my
nice.
hand. But you know what's funny? I'm so used to PlayStation, I can't switch anymore. If I go to Xbox, it's impossible for me to do it now.
Yeah.
But like the PlayStation community, like you said, I guess it's the hype around it. Like I guess your friends would buy it. So me too. Like you'd have more friends on PlayStation and PlayStation chat and stuff like that and party. So that's definitely like more of the culture I grew up in.
Yeah.
But my first system was probably 64. Nintendo 64 playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
that was definitely my first game.
That's
ever.
true. Before the PlayStation 3, I used to game a lot on. My dad had a Game Boy, and for those who don't know, it's a Nintendo that's like a square, and it's like you flip it open, you flip it closed.
I had one of those too.
Like
that's the DS.
phone.
That's the DS.
No. The Game Boy.
Oh, he
itself,
had the first one.
Yeah, where it's like a square. It's like that big, and then you flip it open.
Yeah.
And then they bought me the DSi, I think it was at the time when it came out, and I would play with my friends. But part of the reason why I gamed so much growing up wasn't necessarily because I liked playing games by myself, it's because I was able to play games with my friends. On the DSi, when we would bring him to school, and after school, I had to wait a while until my parents come to pick me up. So we would play the DSi, and we would connect. It was really, really fun. We would play Mario. I forgot what Mario was.
I would do the same thing. That's funny. I remember I went to Deerfield Middle, and I actually had mine stolen like out of my hands at the bus spot. But it's funny because my cousin went to school with me at the time, and he was like a big Mexican, vatos loco. It was big. Deerfield's big gang. It's like Haitian gangs, Mexican gangs, Brazilian gangs, and my cousin, fortunately, he was like a big gang member. Unfortunately, and he literally was like, "Who took it?" Found the guy. I went with him. We walked up to the guy, grabbed the DS out of his hand, put it back in my hand. He said, "Don't ever touch his stuff again, or we're gonna have a problem." Walked away.
Dang.
Craziest thing ever, 6th grade. It was 6th grade, and it was like a mafia scene. I'm like, dang.
The original Godfather.
I'll never forget that. Every time I think of my DS, I'm like, bro, I remember that situation. So like, hey man, everybody's trying to get their hands on those games, dude. Like,
yeah, dude, especially back then, man. I remember those were a hot ticket item.
The PSP too, and the PSP came out, the PlayStation
I
one.
had the PSP, PlayStation Portable.
Man. That thing was so much fun, dude. I'd play like FIFA and MLB in the locker room. Oh my god.
And it had that little like
the analog
thing, which I thought was so much
sick,
fun.
dude. It was like before its time.
Yeah,
so before its time. Like I feel like even if that came out now, people would like use it.
Yeah,
so sick.
If it came out today, I would.
That's what I'm saying. Like, man, dude,
I love that.
That thing was sick. Like, dude, it's literally like perfect little good game in your hand.
I'll never forget my dad had one too. And we would constantly be switching games. Like whatever game I would get for myself, he would switch it out. But let me play that one. Oh, here you go. I'll borrow this one.
Yeah, because those little discs were still like $60. They didn't lower the price. Oh, maybe I think they were like $49.
Maybe,
actually.
but like
but
it
not
was like
very little.
And then it was cool because they would also release movies on it. So literally,
the
like
Blu-rays,
the little Blu-rays, I would put it on the PSP and I would watch movies wherever I go. It was awesome.
That's what I'm saying. That thing was like insane.
It was
for
insane.
what it was, dude. And it was cheap. It was like $150.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean,
so
I guess.
I think cheap for those who can, of course.
Yeah. Of course, of course.
I'm glad that we're talking about this because for those who are watching, you're probably, identifying with a lot of what we're saying. You're like, oh my gosh, I remember those games. But we really want to hone in on the wellness aspect of it, right?
Absolutely.
Because gaming can affect our wellness greatly. It can be positive, but it can also be a negative, And I'm a very positive person, so I think we should definitely talk about the negatives first, so we can kind of get it out of the way, and then we can dive into more of the positives, because believe it or not, gaming can have positive effects for anybody's wellness, The key here, the key phrase that we need to keep coming back to is moderation.
Balance.
In everything that we do, there must be balance and moderation, right? Whether if we're a person who is a workaholic, and you love to work and working fills you with energy.
Mom.
There you go. It's important to do it with balance, right? To do it in moderation, because too much of it can be bad and too little of it can also be bad, right? So making sure that in everything that we talk about, we always need to have some sort of moderation.
Yeah,
so
absolutely,
I want us to dig in a little bit into those negative impacts, and I love when Caleb pulls out
the little
articles and whatever. So I kind of found this one that had some very interesting things to say about the negative impacts of gaming. This is from Harvard Health. The health effects of too much gaming. I'll only read a snippet of it because we're gonna dig into some of the things they talked about. I wrote them down. It's easier that way.
Gotcha.
It says here, more than 2/3 of Americans play video games, also known as gaming. While gaming can be a fun distraction or a hobby, and is even becoming a competitive sport for many college campuses, there are health risks that come from too much gaming. What are these harms and what can be done about them? Is there anything good about gaming? And then it dives into some of the positives. But here's some of the negatives that they were kind of talking about that I think would be fun for us to kind of converse a bit about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first thing that I read in that article, addiction. It's a very big problem in the gaming community. I'll be the first to say that I've even been affected by it a little bit. I have NBA, and one of the things about NBA is that they kind of make it in a way where, for those who are not familiar with what NBA 2K is, it's a basketball game, and you can create your player. You can create a little player, and it starts at a really low level, and you constantly have to be working on it to improve your player. Yeah. Right? So it can be a better player, because if not, you'll be missing shots.
They start you off so sad. It's like, man, this guy sucks.
Yeah, they start you on a horrible level. You miss every shot. You can't do squat in the game.
Wide open shots from 5 feet, just missing brick.
Missing brick. Getting block steals, right? Is horrible. But they do this on purpose to create an incentive to buy. Why? Because you can buy tokens, you can buy coins called VC, virtual currency, where you can put on your player to quickly grow. And it can be anywhere from $1.99 to $100 that you can spend on this player trying to improve him. And here's the thing. You would think that with $100 you get your player to the top level. No. It's not always like that, because every year it gets a little more expensive and it requires a little more time and a little more money, because they want you to play the game for longer. So here's the problem with that. It can create a negative incentive, like it sometimes does for me, where you're constantly buying coins because you're tired of losing, or you're tired of your player being bad. Yeah. Right? And it can create a very addictive environment, because you're spending money that you don't necessarily need to spend. All you got to do is work hard and play the game, and blah 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 blah.
And FIFA's the same way.
FIFA's exactly the same way.
And you know what's even worse sometimes is the alternative. What's the alternative? Play all day, every day. Treat it like it's a job, and you'll maybe be able to bump your character up.
Yeah, and with the character packs. Because in FIFA, you can buy FIFA has created the ability where you can create your own team. Not only can you play as your own player, but you can create your own team, right? Ultimate team. And people spend a lot of their money, hard-earned money, buying these packs, hoping and praying that they get a good player for their ultimate team. But it ends up not always getting great teams. You're expecting to get a player rated at a 90%, and you get a player rated at a 75%. And it's like a whole thing, right? It creates that incentive to buy. Which, obviously, if you're looking in a positive perspective, it can boost the economy and whatever. But if you're really thinking about it, it's hard-earned money that's like going into a game that you already purchased for $60, $70, $40, $50,
Yeah. And it almost turns gaming into like this form of like gambling. It's like and people are buying these things, these packs, especially with the pack stuff, that when you're like buying stuff and hoping to get something, that's literally gambling.
Yeah.
It's just you're trying to you're spending all this money just to get that serotonin boost.
Yeah. And what upsets me the most is that it's impacting children today.
Oh, 100%.
Because now Fortnite and Roblox have learned, which are games popular in children, and younger ages, right? It's well known that younger people, I'm talking about kids to teenagers, are playing Roblox and Fortnite. And now they've created these incentives like, you buy Robux, you buy V-Bucks.
Microtransactions.
Right?
Look at all the phone apps. Look at Temple Run. Look at Candy Crush. Look at Clash of Titans.
Thing.
I remember when my sister Nevaeh, when she was a baby, when Temple Run came out, she was playing Temple Run, and she was a baby, so she didn't know what she was doing. She was like 2 or 3. She bought like $200 or $300 worth of Temple Run things.
Yeah, my brother has done the same thing.
Microtransactions, and I'm sure there's a million people that have done that, or kids that have done that, and it's a consequence of kind of how gaming, where it is going now. It's like it's pay to win or pay to skin or pay to be different or pay to have style. Before it was grind. You know, grind. Get 200 kills, headshots, and you got this camo that everybody wants.
Yep.
Now it's, you know, you gotta go grind, but you could also have the alternative of paying $20 and you get the same skin. You know?
Yeah,
so.
And it's different because, you know, we say skin. For those who don't know, skin is the attire of your character.
Yeah.
For example,
the colorway.
Yeah, in the Spider-Man games, you know, the skins are the multiple different suits that Spider-Man has. Yep. And one of the things I love about the game is that you can't pay for those suits. You actually have to play the game. You have to earn them. You have to complete the missions, which it kind of brings back the beauty of gaming.
That's gaming.
The
That's
love
what
of
gaming should be. Yeah.
So that's a very big problem. Another thing they were talking about was the problem with poor sleep. It can really affect sleep schedules. I'll be the first to say, when I was growing up, I would play 2, 3, 4 a.m. with my friends. Literally, I'll never forget those days when we were playing games and I was literally falling asleep. My head would lean back as I was playing these games. Yeah. And my friends were, Christian, are you awake? Christian,
hey, I'm not even gonna lie. That's why I woke up. That's why I had to do a little double nap today, because I stayed up a little late playing. But like, my nephew is literally in that gaming phase. He's right at that age. He's like 14, I think, and he's gaming like, and he's always gamed, but now he's just like prime gaming. He's like, this last week, he went to bed at like 3, and then 4 the next day, and then last night, yesterday, 2 nights before, it was like 5, and then last night, I wake up this morning at like 9, and he's still playing. I'm like, did you wake up early, or are you still playing? He's like, nah, I'm playing.
Yeah, especially Christmas break.
He's like, I'm gonna just stay up and try to reset my schedule. And it's crazy, like, people will literally get so distracted and lost with gaming because of that serotonin, that quick and like boost of just happiness that it gives you.
Yeah.
That you will sit there for 15 to 20 hours without even realizing, and you won't even eat. You know,
you won't eat, you won't sleep, you won't drink water.
So, and that's another negative. So like, a lot of people could think like, oh, maybe you go overweight. That's not even necessarily the thing sometimes with gaming. Like, gaming, you could be super skinny, you could be overweight, you could have lack of eating. There's so many different eating disorders within gaming because of that, because of the distraction and because of the not being able to pull away. So like, I found myself, I remember when I was like 15, 16, 17, it was really hard for me to, my mom's never really been the type to like, I'm home, I'm cooking for everybody. So it's just like, we're a bunch of kids, fend for yourself, make some food, get some ramen noodle packs, do whatever you got to do to survive. And there was a point where I was gaming really hard and I wouldn't take any breaks at all to eat. And then my stomach would get super, what's that word? Like acidic from not eating. And I would just throw up.
Yeah.
There was a 3-4 month
eating itself.
Yeah, exactly. There was a 3-4 month phase of me doing that. I had to go to the hospital and everything. And it was literally all because I was just not making the time to eat. And it's because I was so distracted with gaming.
Yeah, and you know, I couldn't find this on the article, but another problem in that is also you're missing out on outside.
Oh, 100%.
Right? And again, it's a thing about staying inside, right? Addiction, I get it. But I think it's a very specific problem that deserves mention, because part of the things that I struggled a lot growing up was whenever I was gaming, I wouldn't necessarily take the time to go outside, and get a breath of fresh air, hang out with a friend. There were times, especially growing up, where I was gaming and friends would call me like, hey, Chris, you want to come hang out? We're outside your house. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm okay. I don't feel well. I wasn't lying. I was just playing games, I have today a different perspective on it, right? Because now gaming is not such a... Again, when you grow up and you become an adult, you get new responsibilities. Gaming kind of loses its impact in your life right now. I don't game as much as I want to, but in the meantime, while I don't game, I actually go outside. I work. I talk with people. I take the time to hang out and stuff like that. So it can be a very negative thing. And the last thing, which I believe is one of the biggest things, especially if you're a gamer, exactly where this could be affected, anger and rage.
Oh yeah, I mean that goes hand in hand, especially you come from like Call of Duty and certain FPS like shooter backgrounds. I mean, it's gonna be a whole lot different if you're playing story and campaign type gameplays and stuff like that growing up. you're gonna have a lot different of a perspective on gaming. But if you grow up playing Call of Duty, anything that's PvP, player versus a
player versus player,
you're gonna have like a perspective of like toxicity or trolling or something.
Yeah, and you know what? The companies play into that. They know that people are like that,
100%.
So they create these maps and they keep kind of condoning it.
I don't necessarily always see the bad in that though either, because it kind of it builds a little bit of culture of like. I've found some of my best friends, from trolling and like again, we've talked about this back with the bullying thing. It comes down to a boundary. You have to have a level of like,
like
chill
we're saying,
out, bro.
everything in moderation.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Getting angry or like getting upset with your friends because they beat you in the game. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
My problem is like all these compilations that you see on YouTube of people like breaking their screens and like punching their monitors.
I've never.
Because they're pissed off.
I've been so angry in video games where I'm like, you go crazy, you'll curse maybe. I've never been to the point where I'm going to break something that I bought.
I'll throw the controller at the couch, but never at the TV.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I'll never break something that I need to replace or that I've spent money on or anything like that. Yeah. My mind has never gone that far. Yeah. Like, I think that's... Yeah,
I'll share a story, and if my father ever sees this, he's gonna get pissed off. But you know what? It's okay. I'll deal with it. My father, he used to play on the PSP, and he was playing a baseball game, and he, I think he was in the finals of the game or something like that, the World Series, and he lost. So he grabbed the PSP, I kid you not, and hit his forehead on it and broke it.
Yeah, not me.
My mom saw that happen. And she freaked out. She lost it. Like, why would you do that? Yeah. That's insane. That's crazy. Yada, 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 right? But people do get mad, And,
of course,
again, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
You can get mad, of course. You can get upset.
I've ripped a T-shirt before watching a soccer game. Like, that's probably something I'll get way more mad about, my soccer team. Like, if you look at my Twitter... I probably have 150 tweets a game. Like,
poor Arsenal.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I hate that team.
You hate it, but it's your diehard. I get it, man.
Yeah, it's my diehard team, unfortunately. But they drive me crazier than anything. Gaming, I definitely raged a lot more in my youth. Now it's like a more comforting experience to game, and I just sit back. I put my headphones on now and game. I never would do that before. I would be so locked in trying to hear everything. Now I'm just put my headphones in, go play, and have a good time. Now I could go play for an hour, 2 hours, hop off. That would never happen ever before either.
Same here. An hour or two, I'm done.
Yeah. I could never do that. Like, if I had an hour or two and people were like, yo, get on, I'd literally tell them, like, I can't. I just can't do it. Because it wouldn't be gratifying to me. It wouldn't be fun. I'd get on, I'd play like an hour, I'd be like, this sucks because I want to lock in for another 5, So it's like, but now I could do that. I could chill. Yeah. 2 hours.
Well, that's good because it's a good segue into what we got next, which is the positives, right? I couldn't find a specific article. I kind of found one or two that I was like, okay, and I kind of took information from those. One of the great things which I heavily love about gaming is community.
Yeah.
Not only community in online gaming, but community that a game can inspire.
Yeah.
I think this past year we saw it in The Last of Us, that zombie show, which for those who didn't know was originally a video game. We saw that kind of come into play where a lot of people were like remembering the times when they played The Last of Us and they would talk with their friends about it. Call of Duty, even though it's a violent game, it brought a lot of friendships and a lot of community through that. We can both share in that. Community in games such as like, oh my gosh, where all the Nintendo games are fighting each other. Smash. That also creates community, man. I've been to restaurants and bars where they have rooms with the Switch in there so people can play Smash.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a great way to build community. Comic-Con, when you're at Comic-Con, you think you see Marvel characters and comic book characters and whatever, and you do, but you also see a boatload of gaming characters.
And you know what's funny? We didn't really mention them yet because they're not really video games, but think of like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, stuff like that.
Which have themselves video games.
I would consider them more video games than movies or something like that.
Pokemon, my very first Pokemon experience was on the DS.
Mine was with cards.
Pokemon Diamond.
With cards. I watched the show, I bought the cards, and I played it. And same with Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh was way more of a game to me. Like, I brought cards to school, dueled people, played other duels with other people, like team duels. Like it was much more of a game to me. So like I think there's, like you said, like it's the number one thing with gaming is community. You could find best friends for life. Like I have some of my best friends. Some of my best friends are from soccer, that I still hold to today. But the people that I still stay in contact with the most are the people I game with. You know, like I have 15, 20 friends in a group chat or so from high school that we all played soccer. But the main people I hang out with all the time are the people I game with.
Okay.
4 people, they're like 4 or 5 people. I game with them like probably 2 times a week, and I hang out with them. Those are the people I hang out with the most. And it's because we have like that rapport, that like gaming background. You know, we have like more similarities in that way, you know.
For sure.
We'll game on a Friday, Saturday night versus our other friends will go out and drink. So it's a lot different, you know. We have different perspectives on that stuff. So
So it's a great incentive for community. It's also a great incentive for creativity, which is very big. For example, in games like Sims, games like Fortnite, Minecraft, they've really done a great job of giving people the ability to create, use their imagination to make art or to make fun scenarios, dynamics with their friends, which again comes back to community, right? I've seen multiple videos on the internet of friends playing Minecraft together, trying to play a mission or whatever.
Have you seen like the GTA ones, like the Hitman GTA episodes?
Yeah, stuff like that.
They're hilarious. It's like the guy will like, they'll play, it's like on PC, and they'll be like, it will all be player versus player, and you'll have like a player call another player, be like, yo, I need you to put a hit on another player. And he'll be like, all right, how much you need? And then like this guy will be an actor. He'll literally like dress up as a UPS driver in GTA, trying to get like a package, then blow him up. Like it's so funny to me. Like you said, the creativity that people go to. Like,
because you can.
There's no end to it, dude.
Yeah,
and it's because like with gaming, people are so happy and they're so passionate and they're so like lost in it that it creates this atmosphere for endless creativity. Let's say you go to work and they're like, you're a graphic designer, and they're like, oh, create this piece. Yeah, you're gonna be a graphic designer. You're gonna be able to do that. But when you're literally sitting at home with your friends in a party chat in a creative game and you're just like lost, bro, there's no way you're going to be able to replicate that amount of creativity anywhere else, you know.
Absolutely.
The same with the metaverse when we were talking about that.
Yeah,
you know,
we got into a little bit of VR, and you can create a lot in the VR universe.
It's endless.
It's endless. Yeah. It can also help with. I'm gonna go quick on this one. Memory and language. It can. A lot of games are coming out. It's with where you have to read subtitles. For example, there's a lot of.
How many button combos do you know?
Button combos, stuff like that, right?
That's interesting too. Yeah. That's a great point.
It can help with memory because a lot of games you have to remember patterns, you have to remember sequences to get to the next level. Language, a lot of Japanese games are coming out where you have to read subtitles in order to understand what's coming out.
Yeah.
You can learn.
I see a lot of people actually switch their actual game settings to Japanese so that they're learning too. I've seen a lot of people do that because they're influenced from like the anime communities in those type of games. So you see a lot of people are doing that. That's actually really true.
So those could be real things in games. It can create an atmosphere of teamwork, which is a very big thing, you know, because not only are you playing against some of your friends, there's some games where you have to play with your friends. For example, like I mentioned earlier, Call of Duty Zombies. That's a game where you need to play with your friends together to beat the levels.
And imagine not even loading up with your friends, loading up with 3 random people and playing with them for 2 hours, 3 hours. You know, that definitely opens up the communication and teamwork.
You know? When I used to play in college with a buddy of mine, shout out to Jay. We would play basketball. We would also always you can play up to 3 players on a team and 3 players on another team, and there's different people online.
Gotcha.
And we would always team up with a third random person who would join to play against 3 random people, right? And like that can create an incentive of teamwork because we literally on the mic we were like, okay, bro, pass me the ball, do this.
I have 2 like Facebook, Instagram, like we follow each other on socials, friends from literally like my when I was 13 or 14 playing Call of Duty, back when I was on the quickscoping thing. I have friends still to this day, like on social media from those days that I've never met in person, like from like random states across the country. And literally like I'll see them post or something and they'll see me post and I'll say their gamer tag, you know, they'll be like baby jokes. And that was my gamer tag because my brothers were all like baby Joker and Joker. So I was baby jokes. And then one of my friends' name is Yellow. So I'll just call him Yellow. I'll be like, Yellow.
Yeah,
So
I
it's so
friends like that
funny, dude.
in
Like,
high school.
yeah, it's awesome, man.
You start to miss those days, man.
Yeah, man.
Me thinking about it right now, I'm like, oh my
Dude.
gosh. It can also advance education and learning. It can promote that. I've seen that kind of like we were talking about earlier. A lot of games are diving a lot into culture. They're researching to make sure to give us the most authentic experience. A good example of this is Lara Croft. If you ever played a Lara Croft games, a lot of those tombs, a lot of those places that you visit are real places. Assassin's Creed is another one of these, although it's obviously a very elevated experience, but they do take you to these different stages across history. You know, we have games that are coming out that are giving us perspectives on how to deal with mental health. And I'll never forget, there's a game that gives you a personal experience of what it's like to go through Alzheimer's. Forgot the name of the game, but you play a character who's going through Alzheimer's, and it was made specifically to raise awareness on Alzheimer's, and hopefully provide more funding to do more research on it, right? To hopefully combat it one day and defeat it. But there are games coming out that allow you to learn and get educated, right? Culture, language, kind of like we were talking about earlier with Japanese. A lot of games are coming out that allow you to do that, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, which is a great thing, you know? And moreover, learning basic skills. Like there's cooking games where you would think, yeah, you're just cooking random stuff, and you're like looking at the recipes and stuff. No, it's real recipes that you have to make in the game. That makes
me think of like all the fit type games that are coming
fit
out with
games,
trying to get people more active, like the Wii type stuff. Like
Wii balance, remember the
Wii
little
yoga,
circle?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that are trying to get more people.
Just Dance. It's a great fitness thing, you know. It's like taking a Zumba class in your living room, and it's like with really cool music. So it can create that atmosphere of learning and education. We talked about this a little bit. It's also really great for the economy. It boosts economy skyfold. Whenever these big games come out, the last one to do it, the biggest one to ever do it was GTA. I forgot the actual number, but it made billions of dollars. The first game to get to that number.
I'm sure it will happen.
It was
again.
Incredible. And it will probably happen again when GTA 6 comes out. And moreover, it's a great distraction. It creates fun stories for us to follow along and to be able to kind of be entertained, similar to movies, right? A lot of people think that gaming is kind of like a lot of people think that when we say gaming, they think about Mario, right? Where you just play all these random levels and you
think of like very immature type, not immature, that's the wrong word, like very
level based, you know, task based,
animated
games,
you know,
animated games. But today, video games have become story based, to go further than that, even board games today have become very story based, where you have to sit with your friends or you have to sit by yourself and you have to go through this story to figure out what's going to happen, the mysteries inside of it. Again, Spider-Man I'm playing right now, it's a story. You know, you're not playing with your friends, you're playing by yourself. A Spider-Man story. It was created for that game. And it's for almost every game that's coming out today. And, you know, you get all these very amazing stories that you're like, wow. You know, The Last of Us, a great example. I know we talked about it earlier, but The Last of Us, everybody loved this show. They were obsessed with the show.
That was probably one of my favorite stories of all time.
But that's literally one of the best game stories of all time.
Yeah.
You know, and people are now celebrating it because of movies and stuff, but it came from a game.
Yeah. And it's super cool because that almost like you never know what's going to come from that, because look at Last of Us as such an amazing gaming franchise, and they turned it into such a great show. How we don't know if that could happen to like all these other amazing gaming franchises. Like imagine if they do that to like Red Dead Redemption. Imagine they took that and made a show. Like, bro,
I would love
like
a Red
that's
Dead
what I'm saying.
Redemption
Like, so it creates an evolution of like that as well. So like gaming has such a massive influence on culture for so many people, whether they like to admit it or not. Like there's so many people in the NBA, MLB, in soccer that play FIFA, that play 2K. There's so many people that play so many different video games. Like stream it when they're not playing in their NFL, whatever. Like it's a big part of people's lives. Like I don't think people realize like the impact that it has on so many people's life, regardless of just having fun or playing video games or whatever, just trying to like kill some time. It's way more than that for people, you know?
Yeah. before we get into the next subject, I want us to kind of reiterate again, everything positive and negative that we're talking about, it all comes back to the main idea, which is moderation. If you don't do it in moderation, it can be a very big problem. And I feel that a lot of parents out there are probably struggling with that, right? Where they want their kids to be a certain way, they want their kids to stop acting in a certain way, but they don't moderate the content that they're feeding into them. I have a personal family friend who they have a little kid that he's no more than 10 years old. He's like 8, I think. And his grandma bought him GTA 5. For those who don't know, that's a very adult game.
Yeah.
It's recommended for people above the age of 18. And bought it without even knowing, She just saw the colors and was like, whatever, right? And like immediately when all of us got together and we kind of saw that game was bought, we were like, that game's not for him, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah. Like, he can't play that game. That's for adults, right? It has all these bad things, and then they were able to return it. But I feel that a lot of parents don't moderate what their kids are playing. That's one of the things that I was blessed with, is that my parents, specifically my dad, he was always very adamant of like following the age recommendations. Like when I was 10 years old, I wasn't allowed to get T-rated games. When I was in the T range, I wasn't allowed to get M-rated games. Right, and they were very good at making sure that I wasn't playing those things for a good reason, because even though these games can have a lot of great things and a lot of good impact and a lot of great stories, it may not be appropriate to every single age. So it's very important to make sure that you monitor your child or yourself even with the kind of content that you're feeding into yourself. Sure. You don't want to feed yourself if you have a history or a stressor of like crime-related stressors. You don't want to play GTA.
Yeah.
If you have some sort of stressor of war, right? But like
gun
violence, post-traumatic stress disorder from war, you really don't want to be playing Call of Duty,
Yeah.
So those are things to keep in mind, right? Everything in moderation is key. So I want us to dig a little deeper into today, the future, if you will. Gaming is literally turning into your eyes in VR. You can put out some goggles, and you're literally entering headphones, and you're literally entering a new world. And it can be very fun, right? Because it could be very educational. You can meet up with friends. All these positive things we're talking about gaming. But I've noticed, especially on the internet, on YouTube, I'm a very big YouTube person. I watch a lot of videos.
Yeah.
I've noticed that it's become a really weird negative space too. Not necessarily negative in community, negative in personal wellness. I saw a video specifically of a man who tried to spend an entire week in VR.
I saw the same video.
All right? And when I saw that video, I was thinking like, oh, that's going to be fun. He's going to be playing all these games. And then he started describing his feelings of depression that were coming up and his feelings of loneliness that were kind of rising up. And I started it put into perspective to me is like, do you think that gaming will ever turn into a point? I don't know if you've seen Ready Player One. That show or the book or the movie.
Great movie. And book. Better book.
That's
great movie.
Video games are fun, but is there any fear? Do you think that we might get to that point?
I mean, you ever seen Surrogates?
No.
It's a great movie. You gotta watch it. It's for Bruce Willis, and it's about how humans stop living, like going out and doing things. They just start So what they'll do is they'll wake up in their like old, wrinkly, not taking care of body, and then they'll turn on their robotic body that goes outside, and that's how they live. So they'll wake up, turn that guy on, he'll go out, he'll have his job, he'll work, blah, 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 come home, and then they kind of lock him in, and that couple, the old couple, just kind of whittle out and go to bed, and then do the same thing the next day. And it kind of describes like the future of what they think like the world could come to, when future and technology's taking over and people don't have to do as many things and they can rely on those things.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see it happening in my generation. No. I think that's like a long time ahead. If it's ever going to happen. But at the same time, I see like our world kind of opening up, like, and by opening up, I mean becoming a little bit more woke with things. So I can't see like the government or any company like pushing stuff like that and people not rebelling, like not being like, this isn't gonna happen, like stuff like that. You see all the people that collect guns and they're like, I'm not turning my guns in, stuff like that. I just don't think it would ever happen. Back to the side noted, back to like the VR stuff. I don't think it will ever take over. I don't think it will ever take over video gaming. I just think it's kind of nichey. But with that being said, everything starts like kind of nichey, you know, and then it grows.
Yeah.
My friend has the VR. I can't do it specifically because I get like what's the word? Sickness, the
Vertigo?
motion sickness.
Motion
yeah,
sickness?
like vertigo, motion sickness when I'm wearing something and I'm not actually doing it. But he does it all the time, and he went in for like the last weekend. He was doing like some streams and he put some on TikTok and stuff, and he was saying like it was like low key kind of boring, and like most of the people he'd run into were like little kids, because you know little kids are gonna want to do stuff like that. I mean, I would do it too if I had the Meta thing. I just don't have the glasses. And he said he would just run into like kind of people, like he would have conversation with people and they just seem kind of like lonely. And then he met up with another one of our friends who's like super trolly, and they got kicked out of the metaverse actually for like trolling people or doing stuff, and he made a TikTok about it. But like my point of all of this is just like I don't know if it will ever reach like the mainstream of people of like that truly enjoy playing video games, because the major experience of video games is like that community, that level of like having that experience of like I'm doing all this with my friends and all the people, and I'm not sure if Meta will ever get there just because of like certain things like the vertigo or things like that. I feel like a lot of people will have issues with it, but I could be wrong. I'm sure there's friend groups that aren't my friend groups that are all on Meta, like their whole group's on Meta, you know? So it's interesting. Do I think it's a negative or a positive that we're working towards things like this? I'm not sure.
I'm not either. That's why I asked the question.
That's the biggest question that I ask myself when it comes to this Meta stuff is like, is this, because like we've been talking about this, is gaming positive? Is it a negative? But when it comes to the Meta stuff, it just seems a lot more disconnected than with the world than gaming is. Like gaming, you turn on a PlayStation, you're still sitting there physically and you're playing video games, and then you can go eat or whatever. Yeah. When you're in Meta, you're literally in another world. So it's an interesting thing. I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know how to feel about it either.
And then
it's interesting, right?
And then it's owned by Zuckerberg, which is the most untrustworthy, like kind of weird person of all time. They sell our data to any country that pays for it kind of person. So it's interesting.
So I think in conclusion, if you will, I think above all else, when it comes to VR, regular gaming, board games, whatever your version of gaming is, sports.
Yeah, sports, man.
In moderation, I think everything and anything is possible. Obviously, there's limits to that. I know that I'm being said a very umbrella statement, but obviously there's limits to that.
Yep.
But in moderation, those things that make you feel good can potentially be good as long as we're making sure that it's not affecting us like we talked about in the negatives, and we're making sure that gaming is not becoming an addiction, it's not affecting our sleep, it's not affecting our ability to control our emotions or the way we spend money, right?
Yeah. In our relationships, we didn't talk about that, but like, like I had said, for me, I needed a girlfriend or a person like when I was dating to understand that was a part of me. So like when you have relationships with people, whether they're friendships, brother, whatever it is, you need to be able to relay that information if it is an important part of your life, or you need to be able to balance out like the time with that family member if they're important to you, versus that video game. Don't take a video game over a living, breathing human.
Yeah, don't take a video game over a conversation.
Expire,
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. I love that. So yeah, maybe we should, now that we're talking about VR in the future, we should do an episode on AI. I think that'd be funny. If you guys want to see that or hear that, please let us know in the comments. But that being said, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate all of you. Welcome to the first episode of the new year. Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes,
hope you had a great holiday season. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to follow us on all platforms. If you're listening to us, thank you so much for all that support in those listening platforms. Please make sure to follow us. Give us those ratings. 5 stars are always appreciated. Please, pretty please. And remember on YouTube to hit that notification bell so you
and
get
put
notified.
your game of choice. Put your favorite game of choice at the bottom.
I like that one. What's your favorite video game?
Yeah,
Let us know.
what game.
We'd love to be able to connect with you guys through that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we'll see you guys in the next week, hopefully with Kayla here.
Yes, yeah. Thank you guys.
We love you, Kayla. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.